just entered the realm of dawn. From the vast forest comes a true story that you might never believe. One that might leave you shaking to the marrow of your bones. One that to this day is still being told, but not one that you'll hear and see told the way you will experience here. Hold on to your seat cushions because you're in for a ferocious, rampant ride. Are you ready? Let's do this. In the sweltering summer of 1992, Darren has decided to live the most unforgettable summer of his life. He has spent his youth roaming the wilderness, fishing in lonely lakes, camping beneath moonlit skies, and hiking through uncharted trails. But all of that is about to fade away forever with two simple words: I do. But before that happens, he is determined to savor every moment of his last summer as a bachelor trekking alone in the wilderness. One last time. Darren slips out of his parents' house just as the sky begins to glow with the first light of dawn. A pistol strapped to his hip and a rifle resting like a silent guardian in the truck. The park he's heading to is only a few hours away, a place known for its haunting stillness and whispers of things best left unseen. He's heard the blood-chilling stories about it, the kind that make people double-check their locks at night, and he's itching to find out if there's truth lurking in those rumored woodlands. At first glance, Darren is not the least bit disappointed. In the distance, his gaze sweeps across a heavily forested landscape, where rolling hills stretch like the spine of something ancient and slumbering. Open fields lie in eerie silence, and beyond them, the dense forest stands like a wall of shadows waiting, watching. To the left of the road is a small rolling riverbed, and Darren makes a mental note that it would make a great trail for him to follow. If it weren't for the occasional crumbling stone walls, smothered in thick moss, there would be no sign that humans had ever dared to step foot in this place. Darren feels the familiar rush of excitement, mixed with unease as he climbs out of his truck and begins his trek down the twisting, uneven riverbed trail. After a couple of hours and several pauses to catch his breath, Darren reaches a spot where the creek bottlenecks, its sides rising into steep, jagged banks. A knot of gnarled trees sits to his left, their twisting branches clawing at the sky, and to his right, an unnervingly still field of wildflowers stretches out. The steady whispering wind that had followed him all day, brushing against his skin and humming through the leaves, has abruptly vanished, leaving behind an unsettling hush of silence and been replaced with something dark. A sickening churn rolls through his stomach without warning, like a cold hand gripping his insides. He stops mid-step, his breath hitching in his throat, suddenly afraid to even exhale. Why? He doesn't know. But the air has changed, thick with something heavy, unseen, watching. He forces himself to shake it off, to push away the feeling of creeping dread pressing down on him. But deep inside, something primitive is screaming for him to turn back. Then he spots it up ahead. Lurking about 100 yards to his right is something massive and shrouded in darkness. It's as if the dread swirling in the air has congealed into a living nightmare. There's no movement, no sound, yet Darren feels it claw at his mind, demanding to be seen. His hand trembles as he slowly reaches for his binoculars, but then, like a shock to his brain, a silent command slams into him. It says, "Don't do that." His whole body stiffens. A single second passes, one fragile moment where he could still turn back. But something stubborn, reckless, or maybe just foolish, pushes him forward. He lifts the binoculars to his eyes. Why didn't he listen? Up ahead, in a different position now, crouched in the thick brush, is something monstrous. A towering, hulking black shape covered in matted, wiry fur. He tries, desperately, to convince himself it's just a bear. Just a bear. But his gut rejects the lie instantly. It's a little after 12 noon and the sun is high and bright in the clear skies, yet somehow, the tree shadows only make its hideous and ferocious features more nightmarish. Its eyes are blackened beneath huge, sloping brows. But Darren knows, he feels, it is fixated on him, boring a deep stare into his soul. Against the black void of its face, something ghastly stands out. Gleaming, jagged, long fangs glistening with dripping saliva. There's no clear view of its chest, but Darren can tell. It is monstrous, thick, hulking, and unnatural. Darren drops his binoculars and runs down the hill to the Rocky Creek riverbank. A sickness churns in his stomach. His knees threaten to give way, and his vision swirls dangerously as he reaches for the riverbank, grasping at boulders to steady himself. Darren takes another look up the hill to see if it's still watching him. He sees then, it's gone in a flash. His body loosens up just slightly, a single breath slipping through his lips. Oh, thank God it's gone. But the relief is short-lived. Darren looks up in another direction, this time to scan the horizon of the hills. A heartbeat later, his muscles seize up again as it reappears suddenly at another location around him again. Its ghastly head emerges, closer this time, just 70 yards away. And it is watching him. No pupils, no shine, just black vacant sockets, bottomless pits of pure festering malice just watching him like prey. Then, he hears it. A voice that does not belong to the living. A voice that slides into his mind like a whisper soaked in venom. It says,
"If only you had looked."
The shadowy beast shifts, stretching unnaturally over the brush as if examining its prey one final time before the hunt begins. And then, gone again. Darren staggers backward, his breath coming in ragged gasps, his entire body screaming, "Run!" But he doesn't dare move. His mind races through every nightmare imaginable. Some people say they'd think of their families in a moment like this. Others would probably wonder if they'd become another unexplained disappearance, another name whispered in missing 411 mysteries. But not Darren. Darren thinks about how much agony this thing is going to put him through, how deep its claws will dig, how slowly it will just tear him apart. Will it start with his legs? Will it drag him into the brush, ripping and gnashing while he fights to breathe? Or will it feast on him while he's still struggling, still screaming, still aware of every unbearable second? Every thought that invades his mind is worse than the last. Now snapping back to reality, Darren hears it moving, not like an animal passing through the woods, but like something deliberately making noise. It's mocking him, reveling in his fear. Is it true that fear-tainted blood tastes sweeter? Is that why it's drawing this out? Playing with him like a predator toying with its meal? Then snap. A branch shatters under its weight, followed by the slow, deliberate crunch of another step. A deep, guttural huff vibrates through the air as it moves unseen, slipping through the brush like a living, re-emerging nightmare. Darren moves quickly up to another part of the trail again, running to escape the horrifying creature. Darren can't help but take a breather. He's been running too long and is now out of breath, but then the hair raises up on the back of his neck. He still feels it. After all that running, he's still not alone. He looks up to see what's up ahead. Then, it reappears, only 40 yards away now. Darren's breath catches to a halt in his throat. Every threatening detail is now horrifyingly clear and far worse than he envisioned in his mind. Its horrifying, gleaming face shimmers under the bright sunlight. A patch of bare flesh on its chest glistens, as if wet with sweat or something far more sinister. From the chin point of its mouth, a thin, silvery strand of saliva dangles, stretching and dripping as it slowly breathes. But in that subtle shift, Darren sees it. A grin. Not a snarl. Not a growl. A grin. A predator's amusement at the helpless human before it. Its bulging, bulky body melds into its head, as if head and torso are fused together. If it has a neck, it is buried beneath mounds of thick, massive, coiled muscle. And then, it's gone again. But if you think this true story is getting long-winded again, hold on, it only gets better from here. You have no idea about what's to come. Each time it vanishes, it moves so fast that its form blurs out of sight, like a shadow slipping between dimensions. This sick, twisted game of hide-and-seek is fracturing Darren's sanity. A part of him, the rational part, has already accepted that he isn't making it out of here alive. But then there's the other part, the primal, ancient part buried deep in his DNA. And that part is screaming at him to keep running. Still another part of him screams at him to fight. The instincts battle inside him, tangled in a storm of fear, adrenaline, and pure dread. His mind spins, his stomach twists into knots, and every breath feels like swallowing glass. Darren turns his head and swivels in horror, terrified of what might be lurking behind him, but even more terrified not knowing where it will be next. The sounds are closing in. Branches snap. Heavy footfalls thud against the earth. A growl bursts out from an unknown, mysterious direction. The air feels thick, charged, suffocating. Darren begins to pray. Then, it rises again, just 20 feet away. It cranes its grotesque head upwards, stretching its neck in a way that no living thing should be able to do. It towers far higher than the bushes that Darren knows are at least 6 feet high. And now it's moving, stepping out from the twisting stems of the brush, creeping toward the open clearing just opposite of him. Darren feels tears spill down his cheeks from the intense fear. This is it. This is the end. His body quakes under the weight of raw terror, but then something snaps inside him. A primal survival instinct shatters through his fear, ripping him from his frozen state. His breath catches as the thing slips back into the thick, tangled underbrush, vanishing like smoke in the wind. Darren runs down to the creek bed again, this time to a spot he thinks he can lose the terrifying creature. But then, it steps out again, and this time, Darren sees it clearly. It's now in the creek bed near where Darren is trying to hide, and it has found him again. Leaning forward at the waist, its elongated arms dangle at its sides, each tipped with black hooked claws that gleam like polished obsidian stone. Darren can't stop staring at them. Its massive chest rises and falls, expanding unnaturally with each breath, as if gulping in the air, feeding off the moment. As if sucking in the fear radiating from Darren's trembling body. Then, everything stops. The forest holds its breath. The creature doesn't blink, doesn't shift, doesn't make a sound. Darren feels it finally about to attack. It bends its monstrous knees, its massive, tall form coiling like a spring. Its grotesque arms spread out, muscles tightening, preparing to launch itself straight at him. Darren stumbles and falls to his knees, his limbs clumsy and weak, buckling beneath him, knowing he won't be fast enough to escape. Then, an earth-shattering explosion erupts to his right. Debris blasts through the air, raining down over the entire creek bed. A gust of wind slams into Darren, sending him reeling, just as a massive reddish-brown blur, a roaring force of nature, hurtles past him like a cannonball. It collides with the creature with the force of a freight train. For a fleeting moment, Darren sees nothing in front of him but an empty void, as if the world itself has paused in shock. Then, a scream. Not human, not animal. A sound so raw, so ancient, so impossibly powerful that it doesn't just reach Darren's ears. It burrows into his bones, rattles his skull, pulsates through his organs like a living force. The ground shakes violently, deep thundering impacts rolling through the earth like giants stomping through the terrain. Darren tries to move. The shock won't let his body respond. He falls back to the ground with terror and weakness. He can only lie there, helpless, surrounded by the deafening chaos of something too big, too brutal, too impossible to comprehend. And then, he moves. Not by choice. Something inside him pulls him forward, draws him in, compels him toward the destruction unfolding ahead. Like a moth to an unforgiving flame, Darren crawls, shuffles to the edge of the creek, his heart hammering in his ribs. Slowly he peers over the edge, and there, 30 feet away, two colossal titans are locked in battle, shaking the very world around him with their fury. Fists pound like sledgehammers against bone. Claws rip through muscle. Fangs tear into flesh. The battle is pure savagery, a whirlwind of snapping jaws, slashing talons, and deafening roars that seem to split the very air apart. Darren clamps his hands over his ears, his skull vibrating with every rage-fueled howl. He wants to shut it out, but the violence is inescapable. And that's when it hits him. The thing that saved him isn't human. Darren's breath catches. His mind refuses to accept it, but the truth is undeniable. It's a young Sasquatch. seen all the documentaries, the grainy footage, the blurry photos, but nothing could have prepared him for this. This isn't some myth or footage. It's real and it's happening. The young Sasquatch is losing the battle fast and it's fighting for its life. Darren snaps back to reality and stands up, just in time to see the unthinkable. The creature from the shadows, that monstrous fanged abomination, twists in a blur of movement, planting its feet against the Sasquatch's chest. Then, it kicks. The brutal force sends the Sasquatch flipping backward, crashing onto its back with a thunderous impact that makes the ground tremble beneath Darren's feet. Before the Sasquatch can recover, the creature pounces, slamming down onto its prey like a starving predator claiming its meal. With its jaws unhinged, it then clamps down, sinking its dagger-like fangs deep into the Sasquatch's leg. The scream that rips through the clearing is indescribable, raw, agonized, a shrieking sound that should never exist. Darren collapses, his body folding in on itself as he covers his head, desperate to block it all out. But it won't stop. The young Sasquatch is losing. Darren risks a glance and sees it, helpless beneath the monster's relentless bone-crushing blows. It can't hold out much longer. And if it falls again, Darren knows what happens next. He will be next. His heart slams against his ribs, his breath ragged. Then, he remembers. He still has the gun. A gun might not kill that thing. But maybe, just maybe, it'll be enough to buy Darren a few seconds of time. Just long enough to give the Sasquatch a chance to survive. Just long enough to stop Darren from dying next. Darren inhales sharply, steadying his grip on the gun. His pulse pounds in his ears as he tries to line up a shot. But the chaos before him is relentless. A blur of twisting limbs, gnashing teeth, and lightning-quick impacts. There's no clear shot. His frustration builds until he notices it. Out of almost juvenile satisfaction, he notices that one part of the creature isn't thrashing, twitching, or shifting wildly in battle. Its exposed hindquarters, wide open, vulnerable. Darren holds his breath, his finger slowly tightening on the trigger, and he squeezes. The hideous clawed manhunter lets out a blood-curdling scream. If you want to know more in-depth phenomena about other elusive cryptid creatures, stories of the strange and true eerie tales of the dark underworld, subscribe to this rare channel and ask us for the secret videos hidden in our mysterious library. Then, a roar. Not just a roar, a detonation of sound. The loudest, most gut-wrenching roar yet, one that seems to shake the very trees apart. Something even bigger, more massive than these two beasts is coming. Darren staggers to his feet and swivels, whipping his gun toward the source of this new third horror. And what he sees steals the very breath from his lungs. Something even bigger than the first Sasquatch, a hulking, towering behemoth of muscle, fur, and pure rage, bursts from the tree line like a runaway freight train. It charges straight for the battle, moving with terrifying speed, its thundering presence turning the tide of the fight before it even arrives. The clawed monster, the one that had been winning, freezes. It knows it's already too late. Before it can even turn and react, the colossal Sasquatch collides into its back like a giant battering ram. The impact so violent that the creature's neck and spine bows inward with a sickening crack. Its head snaps backward, whipping against its own body with explosive force. Then it falls face first, motionless. The two Sasquatch, the younger battle-scarred one now free, and the larger triumphant warrior, stand over the unmoving corpse, watching, waiting. A final bone-rattling kick to its side sends its limp, lifeless, and broken body shifting in the dirt. Still no movement. Finally, they are sure, the clawed, fanged monster will never rise again. The victorious, gigantic Sasquatch throws its head back and unleashes a deafening roar. Then it seizes its fallen enemy, dragging its lifeless frame into the shadows of the forest. Darren staggers, his legs weak and trembling, only to lock eyes with the younger beast which, even wounded, still stands at a towering 9 feet tall. It fixes its piercing gaze on Darren and begins moving toward him, slow but deliberate. As the young Sasquatch gets closer, only then does Darren realize his grave mistake. His rifle is still raised, his finger tense on the trigger, the barrel aimed directly at the younger Bigfoot's chest. A flash of understanding flickers across the Sasquatch's face as he gestures to Darren. Darren forces himself to move, lowering the gun with shaking hands. Darren stands down and attempts to back off. The Sasquatch seemed to ease seconds ago, but suddenly, instead of staying in place, it picks up its pace, closing the distance with unnerving intent. The young Sasquatch is coming straight for him. A surge of panic explodes in Darren's chest. Suddenly, he cannot move, as though some unknown force is paralyzing him. His vision blurs, then tunnels, the edges of the world collapsing inward. Darren begins to lose his balance. He's dropping. His knees buckle, his stomach lurches, and the ground beneath him twists and spins. Whether it's terror or the aftershock of pure adrenaline, he doesn't know. All he knows is that the earth shouldn't be rushing up to meet his face. The last thing he feels is the cold embrace of the dirt. He's fainting. When Darren comes to, he's in the dark of night. His head is pounding, his stomach churns, and his body feels like it's been through a war. He groans, pressing his forehead between his knees as he drinks in the cool night air, trying to steady himself. Then he lifts his head and looks around. Somehow he is back at his truck, slumped against the door, his rifle resting beside him in the dirt. The world around him is silent, the night calm, too calm. Had it all been a nightmare? Had he never left his parking spot? Did he fall asleep against his truck? Did his own mind craft the most brutal, blood-soaked monster rumble he had ever witnessed? Darren rakes a hand through his sweat-matted hair, forcing himself to retrace every moment. The terror, the impossible creatures, the earth-shaking battle. It all felt too real. But his rational mind screams that it had to be a dream. But was it? There's no way any of that was real. Darren clings to the lie, forcing himself to believe that he never even left his truck. He didn't see those things. He didn't feel the ground shake beneath their battle. He didn't come face to face with something that shouldn't exist. It was all just a nightmare. He struggles to his feet, his legs unsteady as he turns toward his truck. He decides he never wants to go camping again. He doesn't even want to be outside anymore. He just wants to go home, to lock his doors, to bury this entire day somewhere deep where it can never touch him again. But then he sees it. A massive handprint, etched perfectly into the dust on the hood of his truck, placed right where something would have to brace itself to set Darren and his belongings down next to the truck. Darren's breath catches in his throat. The print is monstrous, the fingers thick and unnaturally long. His entire body locks up, a cold wave of realization crashing over him. It wasn't a dream. It happened. It all happened. His entire body locks up, a cold wave of realization crashing over him. It wasn't a dream. It happened. It all happened. He realizes the younger Sasquatch had used some kind of paranormal mind control to put him asleep and carry him and his belongings back to his truck. The bombshell of truth detonates in his brain, and suddenly he's moving, faster than he ever has in his life. He lunges into his truck, fumbles with the keys, his hands trembling so violently that it takes him 3 tries to get them into the ignition. The engine roars to life. Darren slams his foot on the gas. He never looks back. He never speaks of this to anyone, but the nightmares don't forget. For years, the terrifying clawed monster lurks in his dreams, waiting, watching. And on the bad nights, he isn't so lucky. On those nights, the Dogman catches him. Just know, Dogman may actually live amongst us in the depths of the woods. If you've enjoyed or gotten any eerie inspiration from this video, or you have actually seen a Dogman yourself and you know what you saw, don't leave this video without clawing down on the like button. We need your help and support to make another video like this one. We hope your imagination is brimming with thoughts on the experience you've just had entering the realm of dawn. Be alert. Observe your surroundings at all times, especially after dark, and never venture out into the woods unprepared or alone again.